Thank you for joining us today on this rainy afternoon. As Jackie stated, my name is Brittany Mason, and I'm an attorney with the Department of Procurement Services. And today we are bringing to you a presentation on the various programs and bid incentives that the city has. And we have a number of programs and incentives that would be beneficial in doing business with the city. And we're just going to give you a very high level overview of those programs and incentives. More detail can also be found on the city's website, which we'll touch on just a little later following the presentation. So first of all, we have the city's programs. The city's programs are listed here. We have our Small Business Initiative Construction Program, our Mid-Sized Business Initiative for Construction Program. We have our Non-Construction Mid-Sized Business Initiative, the Diversity Credit Program, Mentor-Protégé Program, our Target Market Program, and Phased Graduation Program. Our Small Business Initiative Program is for construction contracts, and particularly for construction projects that are under $3 million in total cost. And we encourage small businesses to participate in those programs that are city funded and under $3 million under this particular program. It's exclusive to the small businesses. You have to be a small local business. What that means is that your principal place of business and the majority of your full-time regular workforce is located in the 6-county region. And there's 2 tiers to the Small Business Initiative Program. In the first tier, the construction projects costs are somewhere between $2 million and $3 million. And in order to qualify as a small business, you cannot exceed the Small Business Administration size standard, and you cannot exceed certification's personal net worth limitation. If you fall into the second tier, the projects are less than $2 million, and you cannot exceed 1/2 of the Small Business Administration size standard and 1/2 of certification's personal net worth limits. Under these Small Business Initiative construction contracts, the small business has to perform the majority of the work with its own forces and or subcontractors who are also small local businesses. Moving forward to our mid-sized business initiative. Our mid-sized business initiative are on city-funded construction projects that fall between $3 million and $20 million in cost. And during these contracts, we are encouraging both small and mid-sized businesses to participate. Again, I'll reiterate that a small business and also a mid-sized local business are the exclusive bidders on the contract, and the principal place of business and the majority of the full-time regular workforce has to be in the 6-county region. There are also 2 tiers in the mid-sized business initiative. The first tier is projects between $10 million and $20 million, and in order to be eligible, the small or mid-sized business cannot exceed 2 times what the Small Business Administration has set as a size standard and cannot exceed 2 times the limitations for personal net worth that's in place by certification. If you fall within the second tier, those projects are between $3 million and $10 million, so slightly smaller than the first tier. And those bidders cannot exceed 1 1/2 times what the Small Business Administration has set as a size standard, and 1 1/2 times whatever certification's personal net worth limit is. At least 51% of the work on the contract has to be performed by the MB's own forces or subcontractors who are mid-sized local businesses. We also have another component to the Business Initiative Program, and that's the Mid-Size Initiative for non-construction contracts. Again, these are city-funded contracts, but they are non-construction. and they are between $3 million and $10 million in total cost. We encourage small businesses and mid-sized businesses to participate on those. There's no tiers under this particular business initiative program, but the requirement is still the same in terms of the principal place of business, and the majority of full-time regular workforce has to be in the 6-county region. The project cost has to be between $3 million and $10 million. And in this case, in order to be eligible, the bidder cannot exceed 1.5 times the certification size standard. So this one is a little bit different. This one is solely based on not exceeding 1.5 times the certification size standard. The MBE, or minority business enterprise, is what that means, must perform at least 51% of the work with its own forces or subcontractors who are mid-sized or local businesses. Our next program is the Diversity Credit Program. In our contracting opportunities, we always want to encourage using minority or women business enterprises on contracts. So what this program is aimed at is increasing the participation of minority and women business enterprises in private contracts. That means that they're not funded by a governmental entity. And then we make that participation eligible for credit towards a contractor's MWBE goals on a city contract. Key takeaway points here is that the minority or women business enterprise has to perform a direct commercially useful function in the private contract. It must be in an area where that firm is actually certified by the city. So when you apply to the city contract, you can be eligible for $1 of credit for every $3 earned by minority or women business enterprise vendors. The maximum amount of credit that you can actually get is 5%. So once you reach the 5%, it's cut off. And the credits may only be used once, and it expires after a 1-year period of time. Private sector contracts may not have affirmative action goals in them in order to be eligible for the credit, and also the work by the minority or women business enterprise has to be performed within 3 years of applying for the city contract. The next program we have is our Mentor-Protégé Program. Our Mentor-Protégé Program increases participation in the capacity of minority and women business enterprises in city contracting by making the utilization of those entities and mentoring of those entities eligible as well for credit towards MWBE goals on city contracts. When a contract is advertised, if the prime contractor or its subcontractor intends to participate in the Mentor-Protégé Program with the city, they will provide a written executed agreement. That agreement has to be approved by the CPO. More about what that agreement should look like can be found on the City of Chicago's website. There is a sample agreement. The way that works in terms of credit, you get 0.5 participation credit can be earned for every 1% performed by the protege, and it's capped at 5%. The purpose of the program is that it has to be designed to assist the protege in becoming self-sustaining, competitive, profitable. The protege has a need, and the mentor provides that need. And it can be in the form of, weekly meetings or monthly meetings with PowerPoint presentations, with activities or reviewing. Whatever the need is, the mentor addresses it in the best way possible. A prime can mentor an MBWBE, or its subcontractor can mentor an MBWBE. And use of the Mentor-Protégé Program, as I stated before, has to be indicated on your bid proposal, and the agreement has to be submitted at the time of bid opening. The prime contractor not only can receive credit towards his MWBE goals on the contract, but also could qualify to receive a 1% bid incentive. And we'll talk a little bit later about how the actual incentives work. Our target market program is aimed at opportunities for minority and women business enterprise exclusively. And these are on city contracts that are non-construction. MBEs or WBEs or a joint venture consisting exclusively of MBEs, WBEs, or both are the only entities that are allowed to bid on these contracts. You have to be certified by the city as an MBE or WBE prior to bidding. The prime contractor can subcontract up to 50% of the dollar value of the contract to subcontractors who are not MBEs or WBEs. The other 50% must be performed by the prime. There is the MBE WBE phase graduation program. There becomes a point in time when our MBE WBE entities that are in the city program become established businesses. And that's the goal of the project, to help you to grow and grow out of the program. So this particular program is designed to maximize diversity in city contracting by making or allowing established businesses eligible for continued participation in the city's MBE, WBE, both construction and non-construction programs for at least 3 additional years. And this applies when a firm reaches the point where it has exceeded the gross receipts, employee size limits for certification, or the owner's personal net worth has exceeded the personal net worth limits for certification, making this firm no longer able to participate in our certification program. The firm will be considered a participating established business for a period of 3 years. And over the years, the amount of credit that would go towards the MWBE goals actually diminishes. So it starts at 75% credit for participation in the first year, it moves down to 50 in the second year, and then 25% in the third year if starting a new contract. Moving forward to our bid incentives. Here displayed on the screen are broken up into various categories. We have 5 incentives that relate to just construction contracts. And that's the apprentice utilization, equal employment opportunity, ex-offender apprentice utilization, project area subcontractors, and then the veteran-owned subcontractor utilization. We have 1 incentive that applies to non-construction contracts only, and that's the city-based business manufacturers. We have 7 that apply to both construction and non-construction. That's our Mentor-Protégé, our alternatively powered vehicles, business enterprises owned or operated by people with disabilities, city-based business, incentive to encourage utilization of MBE and WBE, our veteran-owned and small business, JV and VBE, and the diverse workforce and management incentive. Apprentice utilization business incentive. This incentive encourages city prime contractors to use apprentices on their construction projects. And these construction projects are estimated value of $100,000 or more. What does it mean to be an apprentice? In order to be considered an apprentice, you have to be sponsored into an apprenticeship training program by a contractor that is authorized by a union to sponsor apprentices, and enrolled in or graduated from a construction technology training program that was administered by City Colleges of Chicago, or graduated from a high school operated by Chicago Public Schools. The incentive here is you earn a credit for future contracts. So the participation is calculated on the current contract. And once that contract is completed, you get a credit. That credit can be used on another contract that you bid on. That credit will be valid for 3 years, and it can only be used to win one contract award. The incentive is tiered. The way it's monitored through participation in the program is if 5 to 10% of the work performed by the apprentice is used, then you can get a 0.5% bid incentive. If 11 to 15% of the project area subcontractor work is used, then you can get a 1% bid incentive. Equal employment opportunity is another incentive that you find on construction contracts of $100,000 or more. The goal with the equal employment incentive is to use or encourage and increase utilization of minority and women journey workers and apprentices and laborers on these construction contracts. In the bid documents, you will find what we call a canvassing formula. The canvassing formula is the formula in which the bidder would propose the amount of minority and women utilization levels, and it's going to be as a percentage of work hours on the project. We have a cap of 15% for female workers, a cap for 70% and minority workers. The cap is only for canvassing purposes. We always encourage you to utilize more. The bidder will be given 150% credit for every work hour performed by a minority or female worker residing in a socio-economically disadvantaged area. And after completing the numerical calculation set forth in the canvassing formula, the final calculation represents what we call the award criteria figure. The award criteria figure is that number which we will use to compare bids to determine who is actually the lowest bidder. We have our ex-offender apprentice bid incentive. It's designed to increase the use of ex-offenders or individuals returning back to the community for construction projects that have an estimated value of $100,000 or more. We work very closely with Department of Family and Support Services, who works along with delegate agencies to recruit, screen, and refer potential qualified candidates. All candidates have to go through an initial intake process, and at that point, their eligibility for the program will be determined. This is also an incentive in which credit is earned for future contracts. Credit is valid for 3 years, and it can only be used on one contract. Again, it's a tiered incentive. So if 5 to 10% of your labor hours are performed by an apprentice, you get 0.5% credit to use on a future bid. If 11 to 15% of the total labor hours are performed by an apprentice, you get 1% credit to use on a future bid as a percentage of that future contract bid. Project area subcontractor bid incentive. This is an incentive for prime contractors to use subcontractors in the designated project area on construction contracts. The construction contract itself will identify what that project area is. The subcontractor has to be a small business. And again, that's based on Small Business Administration size standards. It has to conduct a meaningful day-to-day business at a facility in the project area. It must be the place of employment for the majority of its regular full-time workforce. That subcontractor also has to hold all required city licenses and be subject to city taxes. You have a tiered incentive in this as well. If 1 to 16% of the work is performed by the project area consultant, then you can qualify for a 0.5% bid to use in the future. If 17 to 32% of the work is performed by the project area sub, then you qualify for a 1% incentive. And it just continues to go up from there. So 33 to 49% of the work results in a 1.5% incentive. 50% or more results in a 2% incentive. And as a note, section 292330, which you can find more information of the Municipal Code of Chicago, requires contractors on projects with an estimated value of 100,000 or more. That's a requirement in this case, to have at least 7.5% of work performed by project area residents and 50% by city residents. Work hours performed by the project area residents shall be considered to be work hours performed by city residents for purposes of calculating minimum work hour percentage. There is also the veteran-owned subcontractor utilization bid incentive. It applies to construction projects, and it is designed to utilize veteran-owned subcontractors in performing your contract. So as the title indicates, the bidder has to be a veteran-owned small local business, or they have to utilize veteran business enterprises as their subcontractors. This is a tiered incentive as well, based on the bidder's commitment to use veteran-owned subcontractors in the performance of the contract. If you commit to 1 to 16%, that results in a 0.5% incentive in the future. If you use 17 to 32%, that results in a 1.1% incentive. If the hours used are 33 to 49%, it results in a 1.5% incentive. And if 50% or more is used, then the incentive is at 2% of the contract-based bid. City-based manufacturers bid incentive. This increases contracting, supply opportunities, and participation by city-based manufacturers. The manufacturer has to be licensed, they have to be taxed, and they have to operate in the city of Chicago. Contracts for goods with estimated values of $100,000 or more is what this incentive applies to. It is tiered as well. 25 to 49% of goods provided results in a 1% bid incentive. Goods provided equals 50 to 74%, then it results in a 1.5% incentive. Goods provided equals 75% or more, then it's a 2% bid incentive. We have the alternatively powered vehicles bid incentive. It is an incentive that is designed for city vendors to use alternatively powered vehicles in their fleet. Eligible businesses have to be located in the 6-county region. A majority of their fleet, which is approximately, or at least approximately 10 vehicles, are located and used in the 6-county region. And the majority of those vehicles have to be alternatively powered. Alternatively powered vehicles are fueled by an alternative fuel that includes, but not limited to, natural gas, liquefied petroleum gas, hydrogen, ethanol E5, and electricity. This incentive applies to contracts that are $100,000 or more, and you can qualify for a 1.5% bid incentive. Business enterprises owned or operated by people with disabilities. This increases contracting opportunities and participation by businesses who are owned or operated with people with disabilities. This business enterprise, you have 51% or more owned by an individual with a disability. You have to be the prime or the sub certified as a BEPD. And it's tiered as well. 2 to 5% results in a 1% incentive. 6 to 9% results in a 2% incentive. 10 to 13% participation results in a 3% incentive. And participation of 14% or more results in a 4% incentive. City-based business bid incentive. It is designed to increase contracting opportunities and participation by city-based businesses. It applies to contracts that are $100,000 or more, city-funded contracts. How does it work? It has 4%, 6%, and 8% incentive opportunities. To qualify for 4%, you have to conduct meaningful day-to-day business from a facility in the city. A majority of your regular full-time employees have to work out of that facility. You have to hold all the city licenses and be subject to applicable city taxes. You qualify for the 6% incentive if you meet the requirements of the 4%. And in addition to that, majority of your regular full-time workforce are residents of the city. And you qualify for the 8% incentive if you meet the 6% requirements and the majority of the city resident workforce lives in a socioeconomically disadvantaged area. If you'd like an idea of how socioeconomically disadvantaged areas have been designated, here's the chart. The target area, 25% households. This is the chart that has been designated as socioeconomically disadvantaged areas for purposes of city contracting. And this map is subject to change. Bid incentive to encourage NBWBE participation. There are some city contracts that have no stated goals for minority or women participation because of the nature of the contract and the determination by the compliance team that there are no firms identified that are able to perform the services. And so therefore, the goals on the contract will generally be 0% and 0%. To be eligible for this incentive, you have to submit a compliance plan with your bid. And NBWBE participation could be at the prime level or the sub level. And it can be indirect participation or direct participation. The chart below lays out the percentage participation by an NBWBE as a percentage of the estimated contract dollar amount. And on the right-hand side of the chart, that is the bid incentive that you are eligible to receive as a percentage of the contract-based bid. So for example, if you have 5% participation, you are eligible for an incentive of 0.75%. If you have 15% participation, you are eligible for 1.25% incentive. If you have 30%, you are eligible for a 2% incentive. The combination of veteran-owned and small business joint venture bid incentive, it increases contracting opportunities and participation by our small local veteran-owned business enterprises and eligible joint ventures consisting of one or more small local business enterprises in combination with one or more veteran-owned business enterprises. So a veteran business enterprise can qualify by itself. They do not need to joint venture with another business. The veterans enterprise has to have 51% or more veteran ownership and has to be certified by the city. If it is the case of a joint venture, all members have to be a small local business enterprise, veteran-owned businesses, or both. And at least one member has to be a veteran-owned business. All small local business enterprises has to collectively have at least 30% interest in the joint venture, and all veteran-owned businesses have to collectively have at least 30% interest in the joint venture. The joint venture partners have to self-perform at least 20% of the work, and none of the joint venture members can act as brokers. These apply to contracts that are over $100,000. And the incentive that will be applied to the contract if eligibility requirements are met is a 5% incentive. And we have our diverse workforce and management business incentive. and it does just what it states. We are encouraging the employment of a diverse workforce and diversity in management. If a contract has a value of $100,000 or more, this incentive is going to apply. Bidders must have a diverse workforce and a diverse management, two-tiered incentive that can be combined. So you have the diverse workforce. If 10 to 20% of the percentage of workers are diverse, then you get a 2% bid incentive. And it goes up from there. 20 to 40% is 4%. Over 40% is 6%. It works the same way in terms of increasing the incentive when it applies to diverse management. The only difference is the amount of the bid incentive is slightly different from that in a diverse workforce. So 10 to 20% in diverse management allows for a 0.5% credit. Greater than 24 to 40% of diverse management allows for a 2%, and over 40 allows for a 4%. How do incentives work? The incentives that apply to the contract will be listed on your bid package. Bidders will be required to submit an affidavit and all the requested document in order to be considered for the incentive. The affidavits are usually found towards the back of the contract package, but the contract package will state where these affidavits are. You have to complete those affidavits that relate to the bid incentives that you are seeking to utilize. It will not be applied if you fail to submit any of the requested documentation. If eligible, your bid will be reduced in the amount of the incentive for evaluation purpose only. What that means is we will take a look at your dollar amount. We will take a look at the percentage, the bid percentage incentive that you are eligible for. We will reduce your contract dollar amount by that percent to determine your final bid amount. And it's only for evaluation. So basically, this is an opportunity to perhaps give you leverage. If the city is awarding the contract to the lowest bidder, when we calculate the bids, you may at the time be the second lowest bidder. But when we apply your percentage, your bid percentage, you may now become the lowest bidder and can be awarded the contract. However, the dollar amount that you are bid or the proposal that you put in place, once accepted by the city, will be what you're paid, not what we reduced it to calculate the lowest bidder. Some incentives cannot be combined. And I know there's a lot of incentives, but this chart is showing you which incentives you cannot use together. If you use the city-based business bid incentive for 4%, you can't use it with the 6 or 8% city-based business incentive, and you cannot use it with the city-based manufacturer utilization incentive. The same thing with the 6% and 8% city-based. It cannot be combined with the other city-based business incentive, the other leveled or tiers, and none of them can be combined with the city-based manufacturer incentive. The city-based manufacturer bid incentive cannot be used with the city-based business incentives, no level, or the project area subcontractor utilization incentive, or the veteran subcontractor utilization incentive. The project area incentive cannot be used with the city-based manufacturer incentive. The SBE veteran-owned local business incentive cannot be used with veteran-owned subcontractor utilization. And veteran-owned subcontractor utilization bid incentive cannot be used with city-based manufacturer or SB veterans, JV veterans-owned small local business incentive. So it's a lot that the city-based manufacturer cannot be used with. What is required after award? You may be required to submit documentation at contract closeouts or throughout your performance, demonstrating that you are meeting your commitments. And failure to meet those commitments may result in fines up to 3 times the amount of the incentive granted. The denial of an earned credit certificate when it is applicable. Those are for those city programs or city incentives in which a credit is earned in the future. And a finding of non-responsibility. In order to participate on a city contract, you have to be responsive and you have to be responsible. So if you have been deemed non-responsible, you can be deemed ineligible to participate on city contracts. And I know that was a lot, but we have come to the end. And Jackie, I'll let you take over from here.
You can leave your screen up on the Q&A for me. And
yes.
What I want to say is thank you so much, Brittany, for imparting that great information off to us. And we will, do you have the second screen, the next screen? Can you?
I sure can.
And if you want to, again, keep up with us on social media to find out more information about what we're doing at the Department of Procurement Services, feel free to use these links to actually follow us on social media or on our website, or to find any recordings of this and other workshops in YouTube, archived workshops in YouTube. With that said, thank you so much, Brittany, and we hope everyone has a great day, and we will see you at the next workshop. Thank you.